Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, looking at some of the latest articles that have come about, most recent KSW, and just before that, people.com. I want to catch up with the latest information, see what's been stated, check for any misinformation or new pieces never heard of before, and just give my general thoughts and reaction to it. And it has been shared about just recent, so it'll be interesting to see if it's accurate enough and if there's any more shocks and twists within this case, because there has been quite a bit of activity just in recent time from certain defendants responding to that civil suit, the wrongful death lawsuit. But then there's been other defendants that have failed to respond back, or when people have reached out to defendants, it's been unsuccessful. So join me today as we go through that. Welcome if you are currently here in the live premiere. Share your thoughts and reactions in the live chat on the right side of the screen. If you have any additional comments or thoughts, be sure to list them down below under the video and I can acknowledge them at a later point. If you need to catch up on my previous videos, catch up on anything like that, for the full playlist on the Noah Presgrove case, you'll be able to find that top right corner where the eye symbol is up there, drop down box, full playlist. If you want to support the channel, and that'd be appreciated, below pinned message, there is a PayPal link and channel membership. Without further ado, let's begin looking at the latest articles. The title reads on this one, 2 years later, questions remain in Noah Presgrove's case, published September 2nd, 2025. There is a video to it, but we're just going to read it in words so it's easier to analyse. Lawton, Oklahoma, interesting. 2 years ago, in 2023, on Labor Day, 19-year-old was found dead along Highway 81 in Jefferson County near Terrell. Noah Presgrove's body was found naked, wearing mismatched shoes on the morning of September 4th. The medical examiner's report lists his probable cause of death as multiple blunt force injuries and the manner of death as unknown. Okay. So that pretty much seems to clear that up from what we already know of. As for the mismatched shoes, Jack Newton was the one exception that outright said publicly Noah had one shoe on, Caden's one shoe off, Noah's. So don't know why Jack saw something different compared to everyone else. We never really got down to the bottom of that. 911 calls have been released, and they have been documented and analysed to some extent on my channel previously. One saying it looked like someone walking down the roadway got hit, whilst another says someone is lying there naked and dead. Can't quite remember who said what, but it was Tyler Hudman, semi-truck driver, Tyler Hardy, the Ford F-150 pickup driver. And I think both of them may have made a reference to a possible deer, or that's what they first thought. I believe it was Tyler Hardy that made a reference to something in the middle of the roadway, which later turned out to be the white shorts. According to the ME's report, no vehicle parts or debris were found at the scene. Noah Presgrove's death is being investigated by the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Okay. Also known as OHP. The Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation initially said they were investigating the Comanche teen's death as suspicious, but more than 6 months after his death, OHP announced his death is not being investigated as murder, but I believe it was worded as not being investigated as murder at this moment in time, meaning it could sway again in the future if there was evidence to suggest murder. So I believe that's how it was worded. In June, we spoke with OHP officials who say they're still investigating. This is a problem. On the night of Noah's death, it wasn't the night time, it was the early morning, 3:30 onwards of Noah's death. Noah was at a party in Terrell and was involved in a side-by-side rollover incident. Now, accident, incident, which way round was it? Incident where I think there's no damage, accident where there is possible damage. I could have got it the wrong way around as for definition. But the side-by-side rollover, kind of a prominent event in the case. It was like the start of all things, linking on from the shower to the teabagging supposedly and onwards from there. The ME's report says Presgrove returned to the party after the rollover, but more so focused on going to the shower to have a wash, prioritised and escorted by Jasmine Millan and Carter Combs. No criminal charges have been filed, and OHP hasn't released anything since saying in May of 2024 that it was no longer being investigated as murder. But like what we've seen, as for the ME report, the autopsy, it says unknown as for the cause of death, whether it be accident or possible murder or something in between. There has been a wall of silence by OHP, which is unfortunate. Indirectly they've been brought up when it came to the subpoena by Noah's family, which was, I think, granted. In June, Noah Presgrove's family filed a civil suit against several people, including the party host, landowner, ATV owner, and the gas station that allegedly sold alcohol to minors. To minors, more than one. Well, that's interesting, this article. It's making it seem like it wasn't just Jack Newton to buy alcohol from Val Petrol or Napoli's. I know people say it's pronounced differently, but that's just how we pronounce it from other countries, okay? To say including the party host, where you'd think of Avery immediately. Avery Combs, Avery Joe Howard, same person. The party girl. The landowner, I'm guessing linking to either Stevie Howard or John, or Johnny. It depends how you pronounce it. Trout Wilcoxon, I guess also known as Bub Wilcoxon. And the ATV owner, in which it's labelled in the lawsuit as belonging to Caleb Newton, but supposedly it belongs to Jack. So some mistakes kind of made there, and no hard evidence to say Caleb was actually at the party as well. And, you know, that allegedly selling alcohol to minors, well, that was only Jack Newton. We don't remember or hear any other minors, unless it's been vaguely worded as in other parties and other events and gatherings that have taken place unrelated to the case have led to underage people going to that same store and being able to get away with buying certain alcohol, maybe. Court documents in the civil case state that they believe one or more of the partygoers being sued beat Noah to death. One or more? Since it was filed, several defendants' lawyers have responded claiming they're not responsible for the teen's death, but the case is still in the early stages. Their lawyers say the family is hoping this civil case will give them answers that nobody has been able to give them since Presgrove died. Right, okay. So, if we move on to the next one here, just to see if it's any different. This is a little bit older, take in mind. I think this is more influenced with, Jack and Caleb's response. Him at party claiming negligence led to an unavoidable accident. And that's the interesting thing. An unavoidable accident as suggested in Jack Caleb's response in papers. However, when it came to Carter Combs, a supposed host from the party house, they didn't mention the term or word accident. They, in the affirmative defence, put the argument across for the possibilities of Noah being an aggressor and it leading to his death that way, which is quite shocking. Presgrove's body found 2023, side of road. Family has now sued a group of young people on a claim of wrongful death, but it's not just a group of young people, is it? Because it involves Caleb, who's of a much older age, Stevie Howard too. So it's a bit vague. Jack Newton and his father Caleb say in a new court filing what we've already seen previously, that Noah Presgrove's death 2 years ago was an unavoidable accident, casualty and misfortune. Noah, 19, was found dead on the side of the road on September 4th, 2023, hours after he disappeared from a multi-day party with friends for Labour Day in June. Noah's estate filed a wrongful death suit. Noah Presgrove's best friend, Jack, is pushing back on a lawsuit filed by the dead teen's family, victim's family, that accuses a group of people of beating him to death at a party 2 years ago. Have we seen, publicly, any true hard evidence to suggest a beatdown? There's been people here and there that have claimed in the background there is footage to show a beatdown of Noah. Hard to believe when we can't see it with our own eyes, but we have to take someone else's word for it, considered as hearsay. Can be a bit of a problem. It is unfortunate, though, that when you do remain sceptical and cautious, especially when people may know or have seen it, expect you to as well, but not to see it, just agree. Some people get a little bit snappy and defensive. And I think in recent time, there's been a bit of a rise of random default YouTube accounts being a bit snappy and volatile, just recent, and it seems very unnecessary, but it's happening all of a sudden, which is a bit weird. It continues to read and says, in a response to the suit filed by their attorney on Sunday, August 26, Jack Newton and his father Caleb instead say Noah's death 2 years ago was an unavoidable accident, casualty, misfortune which occurred without negligence or the part of defendants. The defendants played no role in that. So if it comes down to Noah Presgrove and his own doing in walking away and being drunk, well, Jack's original idea in the past was either got hit by a semi-truck mirror, clipped, whacked on the head, or that the Texas boys were involved and maybe Noah was pushed out of a moving vehicle. Well, would that be considered negligence on Noah's end, that no one else is to blame? Maybe Jack Newton's perspective has changed ever since, from suggesting Texas boys could be responsible in some way to now no longer. Is there any direct influence by the fact that Robin Smith publicly said that she was told by police or an investigator that 5 Texas boys were cleared from the case, supposedly? But does that clear all Texas boys from it? Or there's still some out there that need questioning? I wonder. Any John Jane Does that catch up in that? What's more, the Newton's lawyer argues Noah put himself at risk. Descendant Noah, with full knowledge of the risk inherent in consuming excessive quantities of alcohol, including the risk of injury or death, voluntarily chose to participate. Their response states, and therefore descendant knowingly and voluntarily assumed the risk. Descendant was negligent. His negligence proximately caused or contributed to his accident, Jack and Caleb's attorney said in their response. In a subsequent interview with People, the article, however, Caleb distanced himself from the language his lawyer used in the response that blamed Noah for his death. Interesting. That is interesting. We've also heard previously in the People article that Caleb spoke on behalf of Jack Newton in response to, not on paper or in document, but just generally in response to the wrongful death lawsuit originally filed, in which Caleb said, well, my son Jack said that when it came to alcohol, everybody brought their own alcohol down to the party. So with that being in mind, you can see how the shift, how it's being focused elsewhere, whether you want to say the responsibility is being spread and shared evenly because it's the truth, or that Jack is doing it as a tactic. All I would say, in fairness, as an observation, if Jack was trying to shift responsibility, blame amongst everyone, so everyone was equal and they knew what they were doing, so no one's really in trouble, but no one specifically either, to protect themselves, that distancing themselves from accountability wouldn't surprise me, only because when it came to the first falling out and argument between Noah and Jack because of girl trouble, which supposedly happened either Saturday night or very early Sunday morning from what Caden said, that Noah was yelling at Jack. Jack was flirting with Noah's girlfriend behind his back. So that's obviously very unfortunate. It was supposedly pushing and shoving and it got a bit aggressive. Now, that makes it sound one-sided. Yes, it makes Noah appear as the aggressor, but there is a motive behind it after being screwed over by your best friend. You've got to give a piece of your mind to them. That's understandable. But Noah is not present to speak about how the argument went or who was really in the wrong, beside a standby or a witness like Caden Pressey. So you can only hear it from one side of the horse's mouth, which is unfortunate, and that's Jack. So what has Jack done previously? Well, he said that, we both argued at one another and we both apologised, we both cried and hugged and we made up. which sounds all fine and good, but if at the end of the day Jack's the one that caused a real problem and Noah was given a piece of his own mind, then it's more one-sided and one person needs to take more accountability than the other person. Simple as. But you'll find that just within cases and communities online, not everybody wants to take accountability. Even in just general life, people may not want to take accountability. They'll try shifting the blame or the focus elsewhere. They might play the emotional card, emotional manipulation with words, or put themselves in the vulnerable place and remind you of their situation or what's happening. So then you're supposed to feel bad and you're not allowed to have a say. So you give in to it. So when linking it to the Noah Presgrove case, when Noah may be the one truly screwed over and Jack's like, well, we both played a part in that argument. Is that a form of external manipulative minimization, self-manipulative minimization to get a different reaction from people? Was that same attitude applied to the whole alcohol claim and counterpoints? You never know. Just thought I'd bring it up. So with Caleb distancing himself from the same language used, which was quite bold, Caleb says he only wants the lawsuit to go away, as he and Jack denied the allegations of wrongdoing. The Newton's attorney did not respond to messages. Right, will it actually mention it though? We'll just read this in quotes. Caleb says, I can't believe that we're 2 years deep into this, and I've been asked 1,000 times what I think happened, and I just say, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm waiting on the investigators to figure it out. Well, from hard evidence, we've not seen any footage of Caleb at the party. And from Caden Pressy's account, partygoer, he even said that when Caden was at the party, 100% Caleb was not present. So that's got to mean something to some extent, especially when a variety of people do look up to Caden Pressy and believe in him. You'd believe in those words, right? Noah, 19. Oh, the other thing is, probably because the previous article doesn't mention it here by Caleb. Caleb, besides saying, I wish that this, I can't believe that we're 2 years in, not wanting wishing for the lawsuit to go away, because Caleb had said in his words in the previous article that it's not doing much good, that it's actually the opposite of making progression, and it's going to be a big waste of energy and time, which leads to nothing. And, you got to look at it this way. When it comes to Noah Presgrove's family, the victim's family, if they've exhausted themselves trying to get an outcome, trying desperately to get a form of progression, blood, sweat, and more so tears in just trying every available option to get a resolve, just to move forwards. And if things haven't worked out, they've tried harder and they've exhausted themselves. It was Dalen Presgrove that mentioned it, describing it as a Hail Mary, this wrongful death lawsuit, like a final chance, a final attempt. And then if that didn't work, maybe that's it, done for, or just to back out of it. Can't remember the words exactly. And as for Caleb, that's looking at it from a different perspective, maybe negative, but in his mind realistic, by saying, why go through all of that trouble when it's not going to lead to answers? I know it doesn't sound good, but I'm just talking from the mindset of Caleb. What's the point putting in more effort and more time when you've already done so? And where has it led? It's led to a lot of wasted energy, a lot of wasted hope, dreams and ideas which haven't been fulfilled, leaving you empty and discarded on the other side. It's a very difficult time, and that can apply in many different situations. But you can't blame the victim's family for trying. If it means something to them, if it's important enough, you will try every possibility, even if it kills you, right? Physically or just mentally, emotionally. So when it comes to the people on the receiving end that are claiming it's not doing much good, maybe because they genuinely believe in that, maybe on the sideline it's because they feel that it's just going to cause themselves a whole lot of trouble and unnecessary stress and issues down the line. Some of the general public will say, well, good, they deserve it because they're hiding the truth. You get those for and against arguments back and over again, doesn't change there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But, overall, it's a messy time, it's a messy situation. Those that may know, but not say. Others that are being claimed to know, but truly don't know, are being called out, and it's an awkward situation for them. Victims' family at times trying their best, but may feel like they're closed off at times. That one door closes, another one may not open immediately, and it's just getting tighter and more constrict and darker each time, as in trying to find some hope within it all, trying to find some kind of resolve. It really is an exhausting, draining thing in many different ways, to be honest. You keep trying and it's not really going anywhere. It can be really disheartening in a way. In fairness, it was kind of like that with the Dylan Rounds case. Dylan Rounds' family, parents, he was screwed over by police to some extent, had to do petitions, had to reach out to the court, try and get it exchanged over the hands of police, which didn't really work out. Box Elder, the police were describing themselves as doing a really good job in the case, even though it was far from the truth, and family felt a right kick in the soul. And to be honest, it can be understandable that, if you know the truth, you know how things are, you've been treated badly, you deserve better, and then the others that are responsible, or the one responsible for it, has the cheek to say, well, we've done a good job. We've done what's needed and you're just not being grateful for it, or you're not quite seeing eye to eye, or you've got some issues yourself, and it's just, tricky situation. Anyway, let's just move on. Noah, 19, was found dead on the side of the road September 4, 2023, hours after he disappeared from a multi-day party with friends. True, multi-day. He had sustained fatal blunt force injuries on his skull, spine, though it's still not clear how. He was also drunk. It's not clear how he was drunk. Well, picking up a can, putting it in your mouth and swallowing the liquid is one way of getting drunk. Or someone else force-feeding, drinking him. There's that. I think it's somewhat clear as to how he got drunk by drinking alcohol. But in terms of did Noah drink it all himself, was the alcohol that Jack bought from Napoli's underage, breaking law, or at least not complying with the law, getting a hold of that alcohol specifically for Noah? Did Noah actually drink it? Did Noah drink it all? Or did somebody else? Do we have proof of that? We don't. It's a bit awkward. Noah's undamaged clothes were found not far from his body. Well, that's misinformation, because the undamaged clothes, where there's no observable damage, but there is every chance there could be some stains or marks, even though it wasn't acknowledged, but it wasn't denied either in the autopsy, just talking about the damage aspect. Undamaged, no observable damage, that's it. But stains and marks and dirt could still exist on it, right? But the bit of misinformation, which is the problem, is when it says Noah's clothing, as in his. It's not Noah's clothing, borrowed clothing. The clothing of white wrestling shorts, supposedly, found in the middle of the road. And those white wrestling shorts belonged to Jack Newton, and Jack allowed Noah to borrow them temporarily. Now, my question would be, after the shower, at what time did Noah ask for those white shorts? And in terms of borrowing them, did Noah actually ask Jack, or did Noah just take them, steal them, as like how he did with the side-by-side key, the key fob? I wonder. That'd be interesting. No one has been arrested or charged in the unusual case, which has stoked widespread discussion on social media. You can definitely say that. In June, Noah's estate filed a wrongful death suit against the Newtons. 5 other people involved with the party Noah attended and a convenience store, Valpatrol, Napoli's store, allegedly provided some of the alcohol, which the company denies. Now, is there any CCTV footage? There should be, but would it still exist to this day? Maybe not. but there should definitely exist somewhere cameras inside of the store and outside for their own safety purposes of when, having alcohol, they don't want any robberies and stuff, and insurance companies and all of that. But at least how it's worded here, it says some of the alcohol and linked with Jack, I guess, but the other article, what we saw, which was a bit more recent, worded it as if it was more than one minor buying alcohol from that place, which is a bit odd. Noah's death was not caused by being hit by a motor vehicle. That Noah was beat to death by one or more of the defendants, the suit alleges, going on to claim that two or more defendants engaged in civil conspiracy to beat Noah. The suit seeks at least $75,000 in damages. It does not provide evidence to support its accusations. The attorney representing Noah's family told People in June that they had more information than they could share than them. The attorney representing Noah's family. More information. Has that come about public then? And ever since then, with that subpoena, what does it mean? In quotes, the adults there and the kids shouldn't have allowed it to get to any position where Noah was ever going to be at risk of dying, said attorney Austin Vance. That's weird. I don't think anyone expects their 19-year-old to ever go to a party and die. The adults there and the kids. It's a weird way of wording that because, if you used to read it out fast, you'd think kids and then the adults are the parents to those kids, but that's not the case. The adults would include, I guess, Carter, Avery, Jack, Noah, Caden Pressey. And then as for kids or minors, true minors under the age of 18, I guess could apply to, I think, Mikey, possibly Brylan Sweat, Georgia, Breeley, etc., along the lines of that. See, the thing is, when it's come down to online forums and pages where it's talked about, were any adults at the party? What about the adults? What about the adults? Did any exist at the party? And when people word it like that, maybe their definition is kind of similar to the definition within the court documents where they regard a minor as 18 or over or under, but under 21 because of the legal drinking age, so they're regarded as a minor. But in other ways or in other states or in other countries, a adult would be 18 and over, a minor would be under 18. So there is that to take into consideration. So it depends which way you look at it, but my reaction was when people kept saying, were any adults at the party? What about them besides the kids? And I'm like, well, Avery is at least an adult in both ways because of the legal age to be able to drink, that's correct, and over the age of 18. So they are definitely an adult, Avery. And then Carter and then Jack, then Noah and Caden are as well because of over the age of 18 and onwards. So technically they are adults, just young adults. So it shouldn't be that difficult, but, it happens. What else do we have? Oklahoma State Police have said they continue to investigate but declined to provide an update in light of the new suit. In quotes, I just hate all of this, Jack's father tells People. We're being accused of the most ridiculous thing in the world. Is it ridiculous to think in general that a certain cause of death is possible? A certain action is possible? Is it ridiculous? Depends how you look at that. Is it ridiculous to think that the likes of Caleb is being accused of it? Is that ridiculous? You could say, well, if Caleb was never at the party, then it is a bit silly him being dragged into it all. But, Jack and Caleb in their response this week to the lawsuit admit that there was a party not far from where Noah was ultimately found, but deny the complaint's key accusations. Admit that there was a party not far from where Noah was found. A party sounds like any other, but I guess they're referring to the party which Noah attended and walked away from, supposedly. Noah was ultimately found but denied the complaint's key accusations, including that Caleb provided an all-terrain vehicle that Noah was riding and wrecked at the party, and that Jack brought some of the alcohol whilst underage. Bought it, yeah. That's an old photo there. Dalen Presgrove, Noah's older brother, told People in June that the family suit is not about money. In quotes, he said, "The way I've looked at it is that this is kind of the final point," he said. "We've exhausted every avenue. We've done everything that we can. And so this is really the last big Hail Mary to seek that retribution, seek that truth so that we can put everything to bed." The other defendants in the wrongful death suit include Avery Joe Howard, Carter Combs, Johnny Trout Wilcoxon Jr., Stevie Howard, Logan Jernigan. Doesn't acknowledge the John Jane Does, which is interesting. Avery, Carter and Logan allegedly threw the party Noah attended at Johnny's property in a home owned by Stevie, according to the suit. I guess so, but in other ways of wording it, it said the party house in which nearby there was a trailer owned by Stevie, which is down at the bottom west, not the party house. So, yeah, it's a bit weird. But to refer to Avery, Carter and Logan as throwing a party, as in being the party host, it's kind of interesting that, because when it comes to Carter, at least, it said in their response that it's been deemed that Carter was not a party host despite living there and kind of throwing the party. It's kind of odd to me, and it's been mentioned, but I don't know what other people think. Some people think it's a bit weird. Attorney Andrew Benedict, representing the extended Wilcoxon family, told People in a statement last year that they were mourning the tragic death of Noah. The Wilcoxon family has coordinated and cooperated with the investigation law enforcement agencies completely and intends to continue such cooperation until the investigation is concluded, Benedict said then. Interesting. So when you get, people on the sideline classified as on the dark side that have spoken on behalf of partygoers for contributing and cooperating with police, and some of the general public have said that's BS, we don't believe you, lies and lies. You've got someone higher up somewhere that's speaking on behalf of some of the family and saying that there has been cooperation. Surely that means something, right? You'd hope to. He did not comment to People in the wake of the new suit, and the other defendants have not yet filed responses in court. But obviously, as we've seen from yesterday or so, there's been that 180-day extension period. In an interview with People last year, Jack, who is now expecting a child of his own, Carter described the weekend before his friend's body was found. Jack said he went to bed about 2 a.m, local time on September 4th, and later pieced together what Noah was up to from other people, though he admitted everybody I asked will tell you a different story. Well, obviously that doesn't sound very promising, does it? But it's important to acknowledge how Jack says that it was later pieced together what Noah was up to from other people, meaning that when people like to compare Caden Pressey's timeline to Jack's and say, well, Jack's worse, Jack's more inconsistent, actually Caden's more innocent and honest, you can't compare in the first place, because Jack Newton's timeline is a little bit based on what he said about going to sleep. Then the rest of it is from other people's points of views, which Jack used as his own timeline, and you just can't do that. It's not Jack's timeline, it's a collective timeline of different points of views, meaning as like a case study, it's not applicable to Jack. It is for Caden. Caden was speaking on his own behalf about what he saw or what he supposedly did and the supposed times of events and so on. And yeah, there might have been the odd mention of what he was told and what he was shown, but still described it from a conscious experience to some extent and being in the moment at the time. So that's got to count for something. Whilst we're reading over text, I thought we'd transition on to the comment section of a video a few days ago, because there was actually quite a bit of activity. So we might as well acknowledge it whilst we're here and see how it is. So first of all, I said about a dislike, it was kind of embarrassing. And then this went on and on and on. If you want to check it out, you can yourself. We've got some random stuff, some person called Brian calling Warlike Raf out saying, "Shut the F up, Raf, already. You're a con man, you're a liar, your videos are trash." Well, if my videos are trash, what does that make you for consuming the videos then? Weird. Brenda says, "Are you able to see who clicked dislike before the video aired?" I'm not going to ask who it was, merely wondering if you can see. No, I'm not able to see the dislikes. The other thing is, and this is YouTube to blame, YouTube through policy changes made it so the dislike counter would not show, only the likes, thumbs up. The only person that can see the dislikes are the channel owner in the YouTube Studio app, and maybe the general public if they've got extension browsers and use other means. So I don't know why YouTube did that. We've got Desi, welcome. They say, "Thank you for staying on the case. I've been studying this for days. I knew about it, but never dug into a few days ago." Okay, recently. "I knew it was deep, and it sure is. Justice for now." Okay, well, welcome and appreciate you watching the video. Desi also says, "You might have known this. Jack's father, Caleb, and 9 other people, I believe, they were involved in the death of a 7-year-old girl in 2020 boat accident. No one knows how she got in the water and hit by a propeller." Well, the thing is, I did do a video on it in the past, and for some reason my video was silenced and taken down and falsely reported for privacy guideline violations, even though I did nothing wrong, because at the end of the day I was looking at a public news article, which is very weird. But beside that, back in 2020, Warwicker Lake, which is kind of ironic because it links the whole fishing trip location with the death of Noah, that event, but nevertheless. 2020, out on about, some alcohol involved because the police could smell the alcohol breath on Caleb at the time. I think it may have ranged from 4 years of age onwards up to 37, 38. You had an adult Caleb and then another adult close to his age, he or her. And then the rest were younger. Some were kids, even younger. Okay? And a 7-year-old girl mysteriously fell in, how it was described, but the cause of death was by the propeller. Who's to blame? You can point it in different directions. Supposedly, and I've not seen it with my own eyes because the OSCN, if that's what you call it, the records don't show outwards internationally, such as to the UK. Well, people were supposedly claiming from that the victim's family, the 7-year-old girl, remained friends with Caleb despite what happened, and that the victim's family did get a payout of $100,000. I don't know how true that is, but if it is that why they maintained friendship onwards? It's a dark way of looking at it. It's not said with absolute confidence, it's just highlighting what other people have claimed, because I don't have access to all the material out there because I've been in a different country. But the follow-up response by Jasmine Lavender, that's a good name that, says Jack's dad was also involved in the death of his brother-in-law in an ATV 4x4 or whatever they're called accident on his property. Was it Rosa Newton's brother or brother-in-law? Driving along and then crashing to the back of a parked-up vehicle. I don't know how Caleb was involved in that though. I tried looking for articles online, never actually found any, unless once again it's down to an international limitation of what you can access as for material or what. But yes, you could put the argument across, or the unfortunate situation and tale of events is wherever Caleb goes, a tragedy occurs. And some people could say, is it a coincidence or is there more to it if you look at it in a darker way? It's unfortunate, but you could say, well, if alcohol linked to the boating accident in which the person was driving and operating a boat whilst intoxicated, but I don't think Caleb was completely drunk. He was just drinking a bit of alcohol. But if I don't know the laws over there, but if that is still illegal, it's a bit of a problem. And was it drinking whilst driving as well? I'm not too sure. What do we have here? Oh, God. Oh, goodness. I looked up what you asked and aligned it with what Carter Combs' defence stated. Defence say, quote, plaintiff was an aggressor, and any injury from physical altercation was a result from self-defense or mutual combat, end quote. People have never mentioned any physical altercation up to now. That's true. I have seen so in response, let's explain a fight defense scenario. In my opinion, from my own research, that poor kid never deserved what he got. They've got evidence of a fight, and all the evidence is shown to the defence by law. I mean, there's people, general public, that have claimed that there is fight footage. There's footage of people recording beating Noah up, killing him. How true is that? Who knows? We've not seen it ourselves. Oliver Twist. Good to see him again. Who is the girlfriend Jack was flirting with, based on what is known? Noah Presgrove is a flirt. And who was at the party? Would it make more sense that Noah flirted with Carter and Jack initiated the argument and fight? It's an alternative way of looking at it, fair enough. Also, in the timeline, Jack calls out Colton, talking to Carter Combs Saturday. That's true. But was it face-to-face, or is it more so in a text call conversation afterwards, saying, Colton, you can't come back the next day because of that? But from what Caden Pressey said, it wasn't just that reason. It's because Colton and Travis stole alcohol on the Saturday earlier in the day. And when they tried returning back in the evening, they were kicked out by Jack. There could have been numerous reasons there. Caden did say that when Noah Presgrove does drink alcohol, he becomes flirtatious with girls. So there's a small chance that it may have been an eye for an eye, or it might have just been one-sided. But Caden Pressey did say he witnessed that Jack was the one doing the flirting behind Noah's back with Noah's girlfriend. And I'm not even going to bother try saying the girlfriend's name, because I either say one or the other, and it's one or the other, and I always get it mixed up. Then we got a very unusual comment there. Stephen, Caleb will die someday. Well, technically everyone does. He'll answer to God he killed that young girl in a drunken accident. Why is he running free? It might be a bit reckless to be stating it that way, because do we actually have the hard evidence that Caleb intentionally wanted to do that to a 7-year-old? It seems quite harsh and bold to say that. I'm glad he can hold out that long. I'd be impatient, ride the plane to the US and stock... Sherry, what the hell is wrong with you? You would kill someone because you believe everything that is being said in groups? Yeah, I mean, Stephen's comments here are reckless, and it's not a good look for themselves and just in general. It sounds like a form of, or an act of vigilantism or a suggestion that doesn't do any good. Innocent, those kids? Why the lies? Why be silent? Wiped their phones all at the same time, not calling 911, deep cleaning the home, bleach, choking them out, law enforcement taking kickbacks, causing them not to investigate what's going on around them. He's done a lot of comments, Val. I'll give him that. Remember Colton, Jack was getting real hostile over some girl, saying he was making too big of a deal over a girl to his own good. That was on Saturday. Right, situation with basically Colton, older brother to Jack, talking with Carter, and that was basically it. Jack may have interpreted it the wrong way. Jack may have got jealous or insecure and told Colton off. Did them cops investigate it as a homicide instead of undermined? It's been too... Okay, it's getting a bit angry now. You're welcome, Cleo. Edward de Herrera, welcome to the channel. Warlike Raf, just an observant thing. Okay. You know that photo of Logan? Oh, you mean Jasmine Milan at 3:51. Look at the material she is leaning forward on. In response, that Noah's missing photo snap. Well, if you look closely at it, it looks like it's a wooden framed 2x4. Then if you look at the numerous screenshots that were taken on and off from the front porch and patio step framing, it appears to be metal and like circular pipes or railings. Well, that possibly would mean that Logan's photo is not on the same porch entryway. What's the response? Gibby, that's why I asked a couple of days ago if there was a back patio or railing as well. Okay. So for the railing aspect, which could be a different shape, more circular or sphere or cylinder based, I'll have to take a look at that. As for the 2x4 or piece of wooden frame, I don't remember seeing that. I do remember a metal bar though, which Jasmine is holding or leaning on too. It may not be circular. It's not. But then in the background you may have like a wooden frame, but I believe that is the door, the front door. And it looks very similar to what you see in Caden Pressey's point of view as the door opens inwards. So, yes, there is very likely a patio area around the back, and there is some new updated footage from the party house in more recent time. I will do a separate video on that, and we can actually incorporate the comment here possibly and link it together. So appreciate that, Edward, for making the observation. It can help in ideas. And Gibby says, so have you got to the truth on Salazar? Well, people have supposedly confirmed that it is true that they did pass away due to an accident, which is unfortunate. Now, with that being said, let's reach a bit of a conclusion. With that all being said, I do like to refer back to when it comes to certain defendants that haven't responded. I believe Logan, for example, and Stevie Howard, or more so Stevie Howard and Avery, that where they were originally living, the courts, the officials had those locations and sent the letters, the papers, whatever, the serves to those addresses. However, those defendants have moved away, moved house, gone elsewhere since, and it's been made apparent publicly by the general public. So the general public know about it. You would definitely expect the higher ups and authorities to know even quicker, yet not been the case, which is a bit weird. I do find it interesting how still to this day, whilst okay, the responses by Jack in the papers and the documents and how the news article people re-quote, yes, it's going on about the alcohol and the negligence more on Noah than others. Like kind of Noah is kind of more responsible for the outcome than others, and it's an unavoidable accident. And yet Jack in the past was suggesting kind of accident or Texas boys involved in a more darker way. I guess outlooks have changed since. But then I'm just surprised that I didn't re-quote what Caleb has said on behalf of Jack already about the alcohol. Everybody brought their own, like how they've always done. As far as that didn't come up once again in conversation. It's quite an important, bold line, but didn't seem to acknowledge it this time. Anyway, hopefully you found the article somewhat interesting. I'm sure more will follow, and maybe one dedicated to Carter Combs, because she's the last one to have done a response. Maybe a new article will come out about that, but at this moment in time of recording, I've not seen them, but I will cover if need be, just in case there's any discrepancies, any new information, and just to document and archive it all, because to be honest, not all news articles do stick around. Some do get taken down, deleted for whatever reasons. It happened in the Kenny Reach case. It did technically happen with KSW70 News, like the one what we saw today. That media group had done some coverage on the Noah Presgrove case some months ago to do with the Noah Presgrove project and Michael Facecast being interviewed, and some of Noah's family did not consent or want that or to be aired or to be done, went behind their backs. So they reported or did something to get it taken down, and they were successful. But then there was another article or there was another interview which did show Michael being interviewed and all of that, so it wasn't that successful. But then again, you've had it where Caden Pressey and Alicia have wanted that leaked police interview to be taken down from YouTube. The creator out there privatized it, so it looked like it was taken down, and then later made it public again, and it remained public. And yet, someone like me, who does my own videos, not leaking such sensitive stuff like that, especially from police, and yet my videos just get taken down just like that. Not 1, 2, but 4, 5, 6. It's typical that, isn't it, with me? Very typical. I experience it differently with time. But I think it's important to link back to what happens next then. When it comes to this wrongful death lawsuit, if people think it's been filed incorrectly, mistakes have been made within it, mistakes in date of birth, mistakes made in spelling, or mistakes made in people being claimed and accused involved when they weren't even there. Does it appear rushed? Does it appear amateur? You could say so in some way. But was the family outright writing it up themselves in their own ink? No, not really. But still, with a little bit of recklessness, it kind of shows a level of desperation, and that's unfortunate. But it kind of indicates the desperation within Noah's family, what they want and hope for, but will it really happen? Trying to do whatever it takes to get an outcome and for the right reason. And then others on the sideline and others on the receiving end are kind of feeling, is it worth it? At what cost? And to be honest, it's a fair point just in general, like with different cases or really anything really. You can, put everything into it in hopes of closure. But will you ultimately get the closure that you want and deserve? Or will it all be for nothing? Will it feel like a black hole void when you come out of it unsuccessful? It is a risk that you run, but you've got to try and figure out what is important to you. And in a situation like this, it's obviously important, so sacrifices at times are made in hopes of getting closure, in hopes of getting justice. I mean, in terms of the video I've done in recent time from a few partygoers, they've agreed that there needs to be justice and those responsible held accountable. So there's that at least as a consensus there, just for the different outlooks on who could be responsible, right? General public and so on. Kate and Pressy to some extent, Alicia. Some of Noah's family, if not most, believe it could be partygoers responsible, and even certain names have come up. But partygoers on the receiving end who say that we're not responsible, it's someone else, but they don't mention who exactly. No exact names or identities. There's a bit of a contrast there in terms of some are vague and others are more specific. Are the specific ones because they've got more information, they're more confident, or they're just more emotionally invested? So the more emotionally you're invested into something, the further you'll go. But is it done within reason? Is it reckless or not? All these different little factors you got to take in mind. But I mean, either way, there'll be emotional strains on different people throughout the case, and even indirectly within the community. People you come across, people you deal with, listen to, hear from, and if you get attacked or questioned, if you get harassed or anything else in between, you get used, you get stabbed in the back, you get deceived, it can all hurt at the end of the day. It's very unfortunate. People like to say it's online, but come on. Wherever there's real humans, there can be pain and suffering. It doesn't matter where, digitally or physically. You can't always escape from it either. Anyway, with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll see what happens next with coverage. Appreciate you watching and your patience. Goodbye and good night for now.